Pastors are not superhuman. They are also human beings. Watch this. When you see pastors and other servants of the Lord going back to the world and going back to the tradition, you are not supposed to talk behind their back, but you are supposed to pray for them. I know that you don't know how many preachers preach, but they are bleeding. They teach, but they are bleeding. They minister, but they are bleeding. They administer the church, but they are bleeding. They cancel the church, but they are bleeding. So I want you to understand this. Instead of talking negative about them, you are supposed to pray for them. Remember, they are also human beings just like you. Sometimes they face depression. Sometimes they face divorce. Sometimes they pray God to give them gifts, the same gift they release to the people. They pray God to receive them. And therefore, what you are supposed to do, you are not supposed to see the negative side, but you are supposed to pray for them. So it is hard when you see servants of the Lord going back to the tradition, and instead of telling God to remember them and to restore them, you talk about them. You need to pray and tell God, no, remember your servant. Let them not go back to the behavior of pouring libation, to the behavior of tradition. You see them preaching, holding a shiny microphone, but you don't know the heart that is holding that microphone is wounded. You don't know how many preach while they are having wounds, but they cannot disclose those wounds. Why? Because we are living in a generation whereby if you disclose the wound, they shall prescribe drugs that are going to kill you. We are living in a generation where they are leaking the wounds of the soldiers. And therefore, as a good believer, what you are supposed to do, you are supposed to pray for his servant. Because the Bible says that when the shepherd will be killed, the flock, the sheep will be scattered. And therefore, this is not a laughing matter. When you see a servant of the Lord going back to the tradition, as a good Christian, you are supposed to pray. And this is what one of the minister, a musician, said here, Edith Wairimo. She said that she locked herself for good 10 months and she thought that she would not serve God again. And therefore you need to understand. You need to understand that that pastor, that reverend, that bishop, that apostle, pray for them. Don't expect that they are superhuman. They are also human. They bleed like you. They have wounds like you. But they cannot let you know. Because if they let you know, you're going to prescribe a drug that is going to kill them instead of curing them. Many are preaching in the altar, still waiting God to bless them with the fruit of the womb. Many female preachers are preaching, but they are wounded. They are still trusting God to bless them with the fruit of their womb. Many are preaching in the altar. They are sick, they are having diabetes, they are having cancer, but they are still holding the microphone because they know God who called them. So you are not supposed to talk negative about them, but please pray for them. After talking about them, pray for them. They are breathing, but because they know that God called them, they are still holding that microphone. They are still swimming in that grace. They are still telling God, bless me the same way I have seen you blessing others through me. But they are still holding on. They are still swimming in that grace. And therefore, any person that is watching this video, I want to put a burden on your shoulder. When you see this kind of activity taking place, what are you doing? Are you praying Or are you just talking about how this pastor has gone back to the tradition? You don't know, maybe he's going through depression. Maybe he has been betrayed. He has been betrayed by the spouse, by the son, by the father. You don't know what he's going through. And instead of talking about him, you are supposed to pray for him. You are supposed to tell God, remember your servant. Remember your servant. Many are preaching, but they are single. But they are still preaching. They are still praying for others who are getting spouses. But they are still holding the microphone because they know God who called them. And therefore, don't talk about them. You did not call them, but God called them. And therefore, pray for them. Pray for them. I have told you that many are preaching. They are full of wounds. But because they know that you are going to leak their wounds, they won't disclose to you. Many are sleeping hungry. Many are preaching, studying in the altar. Yet they are hungry. Yet they don't have school fees. Yet they don't have rent. But they put that brief smile to show you that everything is okay. But you, instead of remembering them, instead of praying for them, you are just laughing at them because you expect them to be superhuman. You don't think that they can face challenges, they can get sick, they can encounter financial setback, they can be betrayed by their spouses. Many are preaching but they have divorced. Don't talk about their marriage. Pray for them. Pray for them. Even if they are single, pray for them. Even for those who are preaching and they are trusting God for the fruit of their womb, pray for them because they are not superhuman. They are just vessels that have accepted to be used by God. They are just vessels that have been called by God to preach to the world, to propel and to propagate the gospel. And therefore, next time you see such a thing taking place, please pray. Don't talk about what has happened. Yes, don't talk about their failure, but pray for them. Therefore, he's a liar, but he's a loser. I pray for all the servants of the Lord. Share, share, share.